Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I would like to extend my warm gratitude to everyone who has watched my previous video about how my college service commission interview went and have showered it with enormous love, praise and appreciation. In my previous video, I had promised that I would soon be uploading a live teaching demonstration video on this YouTube channel, and many of you in the comment box had asked me to do the same. So this video is all about that. But before we go ahead any further, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Please press the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so that you can get an update from me whenever I upload a video. As all of you already know, I generally give a demonstration of the second coming by WB Yates. Therefore, I am going to do that only in this video. Welcome. William Butler Yeats wrote his poem The Second Coming in the year 1920. When this poem was written, he had an anticipation of a destructive event impending upon the world. There were three events which had impacted this poem according to Yeats scholars like Richard Ellman and Norman Jeffers. What are these three events? They were the First World War, the Russian Revolution, and the Easter Rising of 1916, on which Yeats has another poem where he writes, "All changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born." If we go back to the archives of W.B. Yeats, then we will find that he has written a letter to Ethel Mannin in the year 1936, just 3 years before the beginning of the Second World War. Yeats writes in this letter that he has not been silent. He has used the only vehicle he possesses, verse. And I quote, "If you have my poems lying about you, look up a poem called The Second Coming. It was written some 16 or 17 years ago and foretold what is happening." It doesn't take a genius to find out what events Yeats is referring to in this context. It's of course the spread of fascism and Nazism all throughout Europe, which bothered Yeats to a great extent. The impending destructive event, according to Yeats, was supposed to happen at the end of the 20th century. The apocalypse with which this poem begins ends, and it is also what the poem is all about, is about to happen very soon according to Yeats. But if we trust the journal entry of Lady Gregory, then we will see that Yeats had the opinion that this apocalyptic event would actually happen 200 years later. But what are 100 or 200 years in the span of the universe? They're just a blink of the eye. Therefore, keeping all this in mind, let us quickly delve into a textual analysis of this poem. The Second Coming is one of the most celebrated apocalypse poems in the English language, and Yeats had culminated his vision of an apocalyptic event in this poem, and there were other poems in Yeats's corpus where he had tried a similar thing, like The Magi, Of Woman, Solomon and the Witches, The Phases of the Moon, and more blatantly in Easter 1916. Though The Phases of the Moon, according to Yeats, was a text for exposition, and all these poems culminate in this short poem, The Second Coming, which begin with the lines, "Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world." Starting with these lines, this poem has an immediate impact upon the vision of 20th century. We have to remember that this is a time period of modernism, a time which is torn apart by anxiety, despair, doubt, and war. And therefore, such an impending destructive event or the fear of an apocalypse would always make itself relevant. And in the present day and age, when we are living amidst a pandemic, such an apocalyptic event makes itself all the more relevant to us, does it not? We must understand that this poem talks about a second coming. Who's the second coming? The second coming of none other than the Christian Messiah, Jesus Christ, who would come back as a rough beast. The rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born, writes Yeats in his poems. And this rough beast is actually a combination of the Sphinx, and it also has references of the Narasingha avatar of Vishnu in Indian mythology. Those of you who have read Yeats' The Man and the Mask, the biography of W.B. Yeats by Richard Ellman, already know that Yeats had an intrinsic connection with Indian and Oriental mythology, culture, and a generic idea of how the culture of a country like India grew. He had an interest in the occult and so on and so forth. Therefore, such an instance can be argued with giving this example of the beast. Though this beast makes itself more relevant in the poem like the double vision of Michael Robertes, but we cannot forget that this beast was also mentioned in the New Testament in Matthew 24 and Revelation 13. If one reads Frank Kermode's famous essay Sensing Endings, then one could find out more about this. Therefore, all of these impacts together take us forward to an understanding of this poem, where in the second stanza, Yeats refers to the spiritus mundi, which is a part of the anima mundi, where all the images and ideas of the Yeatsian universe come together, and from that anima mundi, this rough beast will come out. According to Yeats, this second coming will not be a very pleasant event because it will create a new kind of a world, and here we must explain the idea of the Yeatsian gyre. According to Yeats, gyres are time periods in the human civilization, and there are three significant events which turn the history of human civilization around. First is the rape of Leda, which set forth the Trojan War. Second is the birth of Christ, and the third is the destructive event which is due in the 20th century. All these events start a gyre from another, and at the present moment we are inhabiting a broadening gyre where we are moving away from the center. Therefore, the falcon is at one end of the gyre and the falconer is at the other end, which is the reason they cannot hear each other. And in this reason, all our fact accumulating, scientific, heterogeneous and objective ideas are stored. And when this second coming beast finally reaches the earth is ready for it. We are waiting for it according to Yeats, but it has not arrived just yet. But when it does arrive, then these gyres will change themselves and finally make itself relevant by starting another gyre which will be moving towards the center. Therefore, this is how the poem goes about and creates a significant impact in the history of modern poetry in 20th century. So that was the live demonstration which I had prepared more or less for my WBCSC interview. After this, I have some more tips and tricks to share. You should also prepare a reading list or a bibliography, especially a bibliography of texts which have been published in the last 50 years. For example, the book of Richard Ellman, which I had referenced, the collected poems of W.B. Yeats, Norman Jeffers' critical commentary on the poems of W.B. Yeats, T.R. Henn's The Lonely Tower, reading the poetry of W.B. Yeats, Frank Kermode's essay Sensing Endings, and many other essays are already there. There is also another book called Yeats, Eliot and Apocalyptic Poetry. Since it has been 1 week since my interview, I have forgotten the author of that particular book. When you are preparing a reading list, you must also prepare the name of the publisher, the year in which the book got published, and how that book has been generally received in the academic circle. Though in 99% of the cases, your interviewers won't ask you these questions, they will just ask you the bibliography. But in case they ask you a counter question, these things should be well prepared. When you are preparing a bibliography, you should also know that whatever books you are keeping in mind or you are preparing, you should know at least something about those books. Don't just mug up the name and the writer and the publisher and then go straight ahead into the interview. They will catch you because you don't know anything else about that book. So prepare yourself well when you are making the list of the bibliography. While you are giving your teaching demonstration, 4 things must be kept in mind. The first is that they might interrupt you at any moment and ask you to elucidate on any particular point. So, even if you mug up this demonstration that I have uploaded in this video, it is not going to be of much aid to you, because they are going to ask you follow-up questions by stopping you midway and disrupting your flow, just to check whether you have actually mugged that thing up or whether you have understood what you are talking about. I have forgotten my demo, but I have managed to deliver an okay demonstration in this video as well, because I did not exactly mug it up. I understood what I was talking about. You also must understand what you're talking about. Second is, you won't be allowed to complete your demonstration. In this video, my demonstration was about 9 minutes or so. I did not exactly calculate how long it was, but you won't be allowed to give such a long demonstration. Therefore, you must choose your points very carefully. I have already mentioned in my previous video about the detailed description of a teaching demonstration, about what your teaching demonstration should be on, how you should structure it. If you have not watched it, I'll put a link somewhere upwards so that you can. The first 2 minutes, let me repeat, are the most important ones. So please keep them tight and precise as much as you can. Third point is that if you can, then do give some quotes in between, which would be best suited if you are giving a demonstration for a poem, not so much for a novel or a short story, maybe for a drama, but quotes always help. And the fourth point is that whatever you are giving a teaching demonstration on, please remember that your special area cannot be from the same time period. There is no written rule about this. No one has literally said that this cannot be done, but there have been people who have come out of the interview and have said that they did not allow me to choose the same time period from which I gave my teaching demonstration. For example, if your teaching demonstration like mine is from the modern period, your special area should be anything other than modern poetry. It should preferably be anything other than the entire modern period, but it definitely cannot be modern poetry, in my opinion. It could lead you to some risky situations where they will say that, no, you have already given a demonstration on this topic, please choose another area. These are the 4 things which you must keep in mind while giving your teaching demonstration. I hope this video helped you. If it did, then please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. If you have any more follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to ask them down in the comment box, and don't hesitate to give me any suggestions on what I could do next. Thank you for watching my video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, hasta la vista.